So hi everybody, it's Cammie again, and tonight I'm making some really quick lasagna for the family. Well, I say quick as in it's quick to put it together, but lasagna does take a little bit of time in the oven. But it's something we love, and my plan is to hopefully make an extra pan of it so that we can have it another day. A lot of people get intimidated by making lasagna, but it's really not a hard dish. It's just a little tedious in that it has some steps that you have to follow. But I take all the shortcuts that I can possibly find, except one thing is that I do not use store-bought spaghetti sauce. I make my own sauce for it, which is just as easy as that canned stuff anyway. But I mean, you know, if that's what you need to use or want to use, that's fine also. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is turn on my burner, and to get this going, I'm going to have my gas burner on about a 6. And for this, I always use olive oil because we are making Italian. And I use just enough to kind of coat my pan, but not drench it, because you don't need a whole lot. You're going to have some fat from the meat, and you're going to have to drain all that. But the first thing I'm going to do is I want to saute my onions, and I just have one medium-sized yellow onion. It's what I have on hand. Use what you got. If you have white, you know, red, whatever, use the onion that you have. You can even use dehydrated onions, freeze-dried onions, or frozen onions. You know, you got to just use what you got and then go from there. And in sauteing this, I don't want it to where it's crispy brown. I just want to get a translucent look to it. And we're going to get that done, and then the next step is going to be to add our beef. And I have a little over 2 pounds of ground round. It's what they had at the store. They had some ground beef, but I'll be honest with you, it looked really rough. I wouldn't have spent 2 cents to bring that home. But the ground round looked really good. I didn't see any ground chuck, which usually they have ground chuck. Or maybe did we see ground chuck and it just didn't look good? They didn't have any, did they? My husband's in the background. I think he's just excited because this is one of the dishes that I make that it's one of his absolute favorites. I mean, he just, if I say, hey, I'm cooking, you know, something special for you for Father's Day, your birthday, whatever, he's going to either say lasagna or he's going to say enchiladas. It's going to be one of those. So, you know, but I just kind of had a hankering to make some lasagna. I like the idea that this is one of those dishes that it's really easy to double it too. So you can have one that you can go ahead and freezer bank for another day. You know, like I've told you guys in another video, I have rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia, and I also have some other chronic health conditions that in another video I'll get more in-depth into explaining. But some days I just really do not feel like cooking. I can't do it. And if I have some things in the freezer that, you know, we can pull out and it can be cooked, then that's something that keeps us from, you know, doing fast food or spending money on something else, you know, because some days I just can't cook. I do good to be functioning at all. But that's another story, and we'll cover that another day. So I'm letting these cook, and I'm gonna just keep stirring this, and when I'm ready to add my meat and some spices, then I'll be right back, okay? Okay, I'm back. I've finished sauteing my onions, and I've got them to the point that I want them to look. I don't know if you can see that pretty good or not. But anyway, so I'm going to set those aside. If I can get all the rest of these off, okay. Anyway, so that will just be put aside for later. And now it's time to go ahead and brown our meat. Like I said, I've got a little over 2.5 pounds of ground round, not ground chuck, ground round. And I'm going to get this browned off, so then we can add our onions back, and then we'll also add our seasonings. Now, one thing that I do go ahead and do is I always salt and pepper my ground beef. One time I was watching somebody on Food Network. I think it was one of Paula Dean's sons, and they said, salt and pepper in your ground beef never hurt anybody. And so I'm like, okay, that sounds good to me. I'll go by that motto also. In fact, I think it needs a little bit of more of the ground pepper, because you want your meat to be seasoned also. So we'll get this going. This really won't take long, and then we can start working on our tomato products and our seasonings. And this right here is a pet peeve of mine. I always hate how that, when I use this little doodad, I hate how that meat stays in. So I think I'm finished with him, because now we pretty much got that all. We pretty much got all of that done. So I have a question for everybody, and you can comment below. And here's the question for the video. What is your favorite Italian dish? Is it lasagna? Is it spaghetti? Is it pizza? Is it rigatoni? Fettuccine? Scallopini? What is your favorite Italian dish? So if you'll comment that and let me know in the comments, and we'll kind of take a poll and see what everybody likes. If I was taking the poll for myself, or the survey, I would probably say I do really love lasagna. I mean, I do. You can't go wrong with lasagna, a salad, and some garlic bread. I mean, you know, what else do you need besides sweet tea to go with that, right? Okay, so I'm going to continue browning this. And I think about this point right here, we'll start adding some seasonings to just kind of season the meat. Now, let me see, what do I want to use? I'll use this little guy. Now, as a lot of you know, I love my home dehydrated pepper mix, and there's I have a video that I can link above to how I make this, but I love this stuff, and to me it just adds so much. So I'm adding, this is a teaspoon, so I'm adding a couple teaspoons to the meat to help season it. Like I said, I like pepper. I like to season my meat with pepper, and that is a pepper mix. It's just not, it's not black pepper, but it's still a pepper mix. So I'm going to keep adding that in there to it. It smells so good. And let's see. I really don't have a recipe when I do this. I like to just kind of, hey Rosebud. Rosebud is hanging around because Mom is at the oven, and when Mom's at the oven, she's gonna be around because she hopes I drop something, but we don't want to drop this meat. It's a little bit too raw for a little doggy. Anyway, we've got that going, and I like to season it also with a little bit of, just a little bit of some granulated garlic. Not, you know, you don't want to go overboard, but because I may want to add some more. I know I'm going to want to add some minced garlic here shortly. So I'm going to continue browning this. Okay, so now the meat is brown, and my husband, I'm suffering from some tennis elbow or something from, I guess, helping him on a project on the porch, and so I needed the strong husband to lift this up and to get rid of the grease for me. But anyway, so I'm back. This is browned. The grease is out of it. We're going to add back our onions. Because we gotta have some onions. We'll go ahead and we'll mix that in. Y'all, I don't know how y'all are, but I've got a sink load of dishes that have got to be dealt with. Everybody else have a sink load of dishes? Okay. So there we go. We've got that back in there. Next, I'm going to take some minced garlic, and I'm just going to put, you know, and I like to get some of that juice when you have this minced garlic. Just a, you know, 2, maybe 3 teaspoons. I would do more, but, you know, we don't want to have too much stinky breath going on, do we? So we're going to just add that in there. Look at all those onions. Don't they look good? When I was younger, I really didn't care for onions that much. But as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate onions a whole lot more. Now, what I do is I kind of do a mix of different tomato products. I get some of my tomato products from Aldi's because I do not have anything canned, but we have a lot of tomato seeds that we were hoping will give us a good harvest, and so then we can can up. But I use the big can of crushed tomatoes because I think that just adds, you know, I like to have I don't like it smooth. I don't like my sauce just totally smooth. I like to have some texture in there, and I think the crushed onions give that a little bit. Oh, I just burnt myself. And so I use the 28 ounce of that. And then I'm also going to use a small can of the stewed tomatoes. That's going to give it even more texture. And then for the smooth part, I'm going to use a can of tomato sauce. Now I know this is a lot going in here, but you have to remember that my goal is to have a big pan for supper, you know, to put in the freezer. And I'm sorry if you hear me sniffling. I've got a little bit of a cold. The pollen down here is just, it's insane. We have just terrible, terrible pollen. The other day we washed the car, and within 30 minutes you couldn't tell that anything had been done to it. Let me see, there's a little bit more of that. Okay, so I'm thinking I've got one more tomato sauce over here in reserve just in case, but I don't think I'm going to need it. I might add a little bit of water if it looks like it's going to need it, but we'll see. Okay, now comes the fun part of adding all of our seasonings. If I don't trip on myself, basil is one of my favorites. I love it, and yes, I'm not measuring. I never hardly measure when I cook. When I bake, I do measure, but when I'm just, you know, stovetop cooking or Instant Pot or crock pot or anything like that. I just kind of go by taste. I'm going to turn that down a little bit because I do not have an apron on because, as usual, I'm burning up. It's really cold outside today. It was warm the last couple of days, and today is cold, so I have on a sweatshirt, but you know I get hot in this kitchen. But anyway, I've added some basil. I'm going to put that right there so I know that I've added that. And then oregano. And these are the oregano leaves. I had a video where I showed some of my herbs that are starting to come back up. So hopefully I'm going to have a good old harvest of that, and I can stock up on my homegrown herbs. And next I'm going to add some thyme. You know, everybody needs a little thyme or more thyme. I'm going to need more thyme, aren't I? And I have no idea how much this is that I'm adding, but that might have been, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon or so. But as you can see, this is all beginning to thicken up and come together, and everything is kind of melding. And I like to add some marjoram too. Not as much. That might be, I don't know, half a teaspoon maybe? I don't know. But I add it. Now I might need to add that, turn that up. And then crushed rosemary. And I just pour them in there. I know you're supposed to rub them between your fingers so that the oils will release and all that, but I don't do it. Not when I'm cooking with them like this, unless I just am in the mood to do it. I really don't have any rules, do I, in the kitchen? Just go for it. And then I also, now this is some of my herbs that I have left, and I just have them in this. And it's just a mixture of stuff, so I give it, but I don't have much. So I give it just a little bit and add it in there sparingly. Well, that's not too sparingly. Hopefully I'll have more soon. Oh, it's starting to bubble on me. And we're going to mix that all in. And I'm going to just let this simmer over here. Well, let me taste it first. Let me make sure there's not anything that we need a little bit more of. Never hurts for the cook to just see, right? I think I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. Maybe a little bit more. A little bit more garlic. I know I add both the granulated garlic and the minced garlic, but believe it or not, they kind of give a different note to the dish. So that's why I add both. And in fact, I think I'm going to add a little bit of my own, I don't have very much left, but I'm going to add some of my own onion powder. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay. Let me take these out. Here is what's left of my, so let me find something that I can use. There we go. I really need to go through all of my utensils. Anyway, I'm at the bottom of this. I really need to find a good deal on onions somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna add that to it. And I'm sorry I don't have direct measurements of these ingredients, but you know, you just have to experiment with these recipes. Take the basic ingredients and add the least amount that you think, and then you can always taste it and add to, because you know, you got to make these recipes to the taste of you and your family. Let's try a little bit more, and we're going to see if this is what we want. I think we've got it. That is wonderful. Okay, I'm going to let this just simmer while I get my my cheese filling ready, and let's go over and we'll do that next. Okay, now we're ready to get our cheese mixture going. I do want to say one thing on the meat mixture. I did add about a half a can of water, about a half a can, one of the small cans, the tomato sauce can of water, just to give it some more liquid, because while it's simmering, that's going to you know, condense down, and so I just wanted to add a little bit more water, and I may have to add a little bit more here in a bit anyway. So this is how I make my meat mixture. I mean my cheese mixture. I've already made the meat mixture, haven't I? But anyway, I have my mozzarella cheese, and is this not the biggest package of mozzarella cheese you've ever seen? It's 5 pounds. We got it at Sam's Club. Our plan is to break it down into 2 packs. I hope it's good cheese. I'm weird about my cheese, but I've heard that this is really good cheese, so we're going to see. The last time I made lasagna, I did not like the mozzarella cheese that I had gotten at our local grocery store. Sometimes it just doesn't pay to go cheaper, does it? Sometimes you just, you know. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to start off with an egg. I always use an egg, and I'm saving my eggs because I'm going to use them in my garden. So I just want to, I'm not going to do anything with that egg yet because I got to add this other. Now I've got a big old huge, this is bulk time, isn't it? Bulk. I've got a, how big is this? 48 ounces of cottage cheese. I'm not going to use all of this in here. And, but what I am going to do is I probably am going to use about half of this. So, you know, if you were buying not in bulk like I did, you would want to use probably about, I guess it would be 24 ounces or one of the medium size, you know, what am I trying to say? One of these. Anyway, so now comes my big old mozzarella cheese. Oh, that's hurting my tennis elbow. Y'all, that tennis elbow just, and this is clean. I've got a little boo-boo, but I'm just doing that for protection. While I'm cooking, I don't have anything, you know, nasty going on. I'm real big about that. Okay, so I've got that added, and next comes what we've always called this stinky cheese. That started from my father. He always called it stinky cheese, and so we've always called it stinky cheese. And I know it's not the best, but, you know, it's what I've got. So this is the Parmesan and Romano cheese, because the way I look at it, the more cheeses that you can add when you're making your filling for lasagna, the better you are. Why not? It's cheese. So, you know, I'm going to add a little healthy thing to that. And then here's my 2 things that I always add. Like I said earlier, I love basil, and I like to put some basil in my cheese mixture. And also, I like to use white pepper when I'm making this also. I'm going to just keep incorporating this. Now see, that wasn't hard, was it? That's just one more step in making good old lasagna on a Sunday afternoon. in Central Alabama. No rules. Just get in there and mix stuff up. That's the way the mamas and the mamas did it, right? And the meemaws and nanas and grannies and, you know. Second question for the video. What did you or do you call your grandmother or grandmothers? Are you a grandmom? Is it or what does your grandkids call you too? Or are you granny? Are you meemaw? Are you Mimi? Are you, you know, what are you? I didn't know one of my grandmothers, but my mother on my mama's side, she's mama. Always, you know, that's what she was for everybody. She was mama. So, all right, we've got that done. I think I've got this pretty much as incorporated as it can be without blending it all together, right? So, now I'm going to get my my pans together. I'm going to take the meat mixture off of the stove top. It's simmering nicely. And then we're going to get a pan of lasagna ready to go in the oven. And hopefully I'll have enough to at least make a small freezer meal. Hopefully a regular pan size. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back, guys. And we're ready to assemble. I've got to have some sweet tea, though. Love my sweet tea. Okay, so this is really easy. And a lot of people get all fussy about making things perfect, but it's going to go in your belly. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're feeding your family. So I'm going to take some of this sauce. You always want to start on the bottom with some sauce, and that's just because you don't want to, you know, you don't want those noodles to stick to your pans. It's you know, who wants that? Who's got time for that, right? Okay, now this is what I do, and some people might not like this, but you know what? You do it your way. This is how I do, and my lasagna, everybody who eats it loves it. So that's all I can. Our battery is low. So I don't know what you saw, and I don't know where it went off. What I was saying when I realized that the battery was low is that you're just trying to feed your family. You know, you're not making lasagna to go in some cookbook. But anyway, and then I was going to say what I do, and I don't know if this was on there or not, is that I just use the oven-ready lasagna. I have, in the past, I tried cooking those noodles, and they fall apart, and I can't stand that. I'd rather just skip that step and be able to just get on with it, because I got other things I want to do. And all you have to do is look. You just take, not perfect, there's a piece out. I don't care. They might overlap a little bit. No biggie. Ooh, I dropped a piece. And I hear Rosebud. And then just break it. And that's all you got to do. Is just break it to fit. You know, when people cut into this, they're not going to be looking to see how straight your noodles were. Right? They just want to eat. And then you're going to layer another layer of your meat. And this is why I say, you know, I like to keep this with a lot of water in it. And because I'm doing a second one, I may even add water from the tap to it, to my meat sauce if it's starting to look low. And you know what? No one is ever the wiser. It's still good. And, you know, it works perfect. The one thing about when you use these ready noodles is, like I said, you want to make sure you've got a lot of the meat sauce, because you want the noodles to be wet. Because if they're not, then somebody's going to bite into a crunchy noodle. And that was just my oven was preheating. And I preheated it to 375 just so you you'll know that. Okay, now comes the time when we're gonna add the cheese mixture. So it's real easy, just remember, start off with a meat layer as your base. Then you want noodles, and this is where we start with our actual layering. Noodles, sauce, and then our cheese. And the cheese, I just kind of drop, because you got to remember, cheese will spread when it's cooked, because you know you've seen, like, when you've made things with cheese and how it just kind of spreads. So don't worry about if there's going to be parts that doesn't have the cheese. When it's all said and done, it's all gonna work out. This time when I layer it, I start on the opposite end. I don't know if you have to, that's just the way I do it, and it works. So, you know, this little piece right there. And it's okay if they overlap a little bit. And then I put that right there, and that right there, and just continue on. Next layer of meat. To me, lasagna is one of those meals that is so hearty that, I mean, you just can't eat. I mean, a little bit of it goes a long way, but it's just so good. It's just so good. Now see, I'm kind of, and it looks like I'm gonna be good. So that's good. Because I don't want to be so sparing with the sauce, you know, that you don't get enough, because you need it for the noodles. But I've got to make sure that I have enough for the other one. Okay, a third layer of noodles, and we just start on this end. See, can you imagine cooking that? If you had to put that in. And I can't believe it, I don't have to get, well, there goes those noodles. But I've got another box. Usually I end up with with noodles left over, but this time I don't need noodles. So it's a good thing I had 2 boxes, right? And it just depends how many you're gonna need based on, look how that just fell apart. Look at that, it just fell apart on me. And so it, you know, how many you're gonna need is just gonna depend on how many, how big your pan is. Okay, so now I'm gonna go, you know what, I forgot to put my, isn't that thing, I forgot to put my cheese sauce. I was so excited about this. Okay, real life, let's put cheese on. Have y'all ever done this when you're layering this? Forget a step? Okay, let's put some cheese on it, because Lord knows you want that cheese. Okay, let's see, do I edit that out, that mistake, or do I leave it in? I think I'll leave it in. I never claimed to be perfect, so why start now, right? If I'm inviting you into my kitchen, then I need to, you know, show you how I do it. And sometimes I have mishaps, and that was one of them. Okay, so let's try this again with my wet noodles. I don't even know what side I started on, but it doesn't matter. Okay, we're gonna add these back. Could you imagine if you made that mess like that and you were dealing with those wet noodles? No. I don't have time for all that. I'm getting sauce everywhere. Okay. Put that right there too. I want him to go to waste. Okay, now, so I'm at the top of my pan. So I'm going to add my sauce, and this is going to be my last layer. So once you got that last layer of noodles, then you're going to add your sauce. Now see, I'm going to try to get those where they're not at the tip end, because I want to make sure that I've got liquid on them. Now I got liquid on me. I just splattered that on my jeans. Now what I do, like, see how I'm getting low on that? Hold on 1 minute. I'm going to show you what I do. I'm just going to take some warm water and add to it. It's not going to hurt it. And it's going to be fine, because it's okay if you add water to it, it's not going to hurt anything. And if you're going to give me a thumbs down on this, don't do it until you've actually tried it. And then if you try it and you're like, well, that doesn't work, then by all means, give me a thumbs down on the video. But I just know for my family, it works. Okay. Let's see, I see a little place right there. Okay, so what I do at the end is I'm gonna take my big old 5-pound bag of cheese, and I'm gonna sprinkle cheese all over this. Now I'm gonna tell you, this is not diet food. So if you're on Weight Watchers or any other kind of thing, I'm sorry. This is not, I don't know how many points this would be, maybe 85 points for all I know. But this is one of those meals where you save up so you can eat it, or eat a very small piece of it and add a salad with it. Now then, make sure everybody gets some. Then I'm gonna do my stinky cheese. Because you want stinky cheese, a little bit of my white pepper. Now, if you don't have white pepper, then you can, obviously you can use any pepper you want, or you can omit it, you know. No rules, no regulations. I'm not the government. Although at one time I did work for the government years and years and years ago. I mean, that was many moons ago. Now, to top it off, what I like, because it really adds to it, plus I think it really makes it look pretty too, is I add some basil on top. And when all of this cheese melts, that basil is it's just gonna look good. It's gonna look really good. Now I'm gonna take that off right there. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in the oven for, oh well, I'm gonna wrap it up in aluminum foil, and then I'm gonna put it in the oven for about 45-50 minutes, and then I'm going to take the aluminum foil off, and then I'm going to let it cook for about, or bake for about another 10 minutes. So you're looking about an hour altogether. But all of this other was easy, you know, and putting something in the oven is easy too. So if anybody out there is intimidated about making lasagna, if I can do it, you can do it, and it's, you know, you don't have to go by some fancy recipe. It's just layering stuff. And this is basically like how you would make spaghetti anyway. You know, it's just sauce. If you don't have the tomato paste or the tomato sauce and the crushed tomato and all that, and you have spaghetti sauce, use that. If you don't have ground round or ground chuck, but you have ground turkey and ground pork or whatever, use it. There are no rules, because it's your kitchen. You know, it's nobody else's kitchen, it's yours, and you make the rules. So anyway, I'm gonna get the aluminum foil on this and get it in the oven, and when it's done, then I'll bring you back to show you what the cooked lasagna is. And while I've got that in the oven, I'm gonna make up my one for the freezer, but I'm not gonna make you sit through that. I'll just show you a picture of it at the end, okay? All right, I'll see y'all in about an hour. Well, for me an hour, for you it'll be instantaneously. Okay, so here you have it. The lasagna is done. I forgot to take a picture of my extra one before I wrapped it up, but it's right here too. And so there you go. That's it. We're going to let this cool while our bread finishes and have a salad and bread and lasagna, and we're done. We're gonna call it a night. So y'all have a blessed day and a blessed week, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification button if you want to see more of what's happening down here in Central Alabama, in my Alabama home. And thank you for stopping by. Bye.